gifts, clothing, by the Labour donor Lord Ali. After all the promises to clean up politics, not much of a good look, is it?
Oh, look, I think that a declaration was made to the Parliamentary Commissioner because
Keir Starmer is facing the scandal of his life, and it's not just any political misstep. It's a revelation that could end his career. The UK media has just exposed Starmer's luxurious lifestyle, funded by millionaire backer Lord Ali, with stays in multi-million-pound townhouses, high-end gifts and lavish perks, all underreported to the public. As trust in his leadership crumbles and the calls for his resignation grow, one question looms. Can he survive this, or is this the final nail in the coffin?
Actual politics and Ukraine. Are you disappointed that Joe Biden knocked you back on your desire to give Ukraine permission to fire British missiles into Russia?
The UK has recently witnessed one of the largest population surges in the last 50 years, driven significantly by increased immigration. This population boom, though adding diversity and potential workforce growth, is happening at a time when the country faces severe economic strain. With the cost of living skyrocketing and public services feeling the pressure, many in the UK are left questioning how this surge affects them directly, especially when wages struggle to keep up with inflation. For a nation already feeling stretched thin, the issue of immigration and population growth has placed an unexpected burden on the economic stability of everyday citizens. When a country is facing such challenges, people look to their leaders for financial prudence, responsibility, and transparency.
has been in the Lords for certainly over 2 decades. He is a self-made millionaire that has been a supporter and a donor to the Labour Party over successive leaders and prime ministers. So that really isn't anything new.
Labour, traditionally known as the party of the working class, is under intense scrutiny to uphold its reputation by addressing these economic challenges. Yet, as the economy buckles under the weight of an expanding population, recent revelations surrounding Keir Starmer have cast an uncomfortable spotlight on the party's internal practices. Starmer, the face of Labour, is now accused of living a lifestyle funded by luxury gifts from millionaire donor Lord Ali. For a leader tasked with defending the interests of working families, this scandal couldn't have come at a worse time. Imagine learning that while you're tightening your budget to make ends meet, the leader representing the working class is staying in multi-million-pound townhouses and enjoying expensive gifts.
Own home for these broadcasts. Perhaps, like Ed Miliband, he has 2 kitchens or some other embarrassing luxury. And now it emerges, Lord Ali, owner of the apartment that was once allegedly used just once, was also lent to Wes Streeting for another Labour Party happening.
Details of Starmer's extravagant lifestyle have emerged, centering on luxury properties and high-end gifts reportedly provided by Lord Ali. It's not just 1 or 2 perks we're talking about here. This includes access to multi-million-pound properties in London's most sought-after neighbourhoods. For instance, Starmer allegedly had access to a £4 million townhouse in Soho, one of London's prime locations. This wasn't just any property, but a meticulously designed space where every inch radiates exclusivity. It's said that Starmer used this space not just for personal retreats, but for strategic meetings with his top aides, adding to the sense of privilege and secrecy surrounding his conduct. Such a townhouse isn't just a standard home. It's the kind of property that requires a fortune to rent, raising eyebrows over who footed the bill and why. Even more shocking is the Covent Garden penthouse, reportedly worth a staggering £18 million. Starmer's family stayed here for 6 weeks during an election campaign, yet he only declared its value at £2,000. When you consider that rentals in this area can reach up to £1,800 a night, the understatement seems impossible to ignore. What's worse is that these properties weren't kept as hidden retreats. They were settings for important meetings involving Starmer's key allies and strategists, effectively creating a hidden world of influence and privilege that clashes with Labour's image of transparency. There's also mention of a Manhattan apartment valued at around £2 million, where Angela Rayner, Starmer's deputy, reportedly spent several days. Manhattan real estate is notoriously expensive, and such a residence doesn't come cheap, yet the reported value doesn't seem to align with actual market rates. Alongside these properties are the expensive clothing items gifted by Lord Ali, allegedly worth thousands of pounds each. These luxuries add up to a staggering list of benefits, leaving many to wonder about the full extent of undeclared perks. The level of wealth and privilege revealed by these leaks raises major questions about the ethical considerations within Labour's leadership, adding fuel to the fire of public outrage.
£1.2 million to buy a house for her terminally ill sister. So the real question is, what does Lord Ali want for all of this? The nature of these donations is interesting and distinctly personal.
As an MP, there are clear expectations around transparency, especially when it comes to declaring gifts and perks. According to the MP Code of Conduct, members are required to declare any gift or hospitality that might influence their decision-making. The idea is simple. Transparency helps maintain trust between politicians and the public. But Keir Starmer's handling of the luxury benefits provided by Lord Ali has raised serious concerns about his adherence to these rules. By failing to disclose certain gifts fully, or by understating the values, Starmer not only skirted ethical boundaries, but may also have outright broken the rules laid down to prevent potential conflicts of interest.
We also discussed the fact that the apartment was used for Starmer's COVID broadcast when it was decked out to look like his own home, even with pictures of his children in it. However, since then, more developments have emerged.
In the Taste of the Covent Garden penthouse, Starmer declared the stay's value at only £2,000, despite its real worth being much higher. This discrepancy isn't just a minor oversight. It reflects a significant gap in transparency, especially given that public trust in politicians is already fragile. For many people, such undeclared perks represent a troubling pattern. If Starmer is willing to bend the rules over something as public as his declared wealth, it raises doubts about what else he might be willing to hide. And during a period when the economy is tight and ordinary families are struggling, such actions send a disheartening message. One of the most intriguing parts of this entire scandal is the way information seems to have been leaked. These weren't just accidental slips or casual revelations. Instead, it looks like a carefully orchestrated release of details. Each piece of information about Keir Starmer's alleged luxury lifestyle and undeclared gifts has come out methodically, almost like a slow drip designed to maximise impact. This pattern suggests that someone within Starmer's close circle may have deliberately chosen to expose him, raising questions about loyalty and discontent within his administration. Such a betrayal from the inside speaks volumes about potential issues at the heart of Starmer's leadership team. Speculating on the motives behind this internal leak leads to a few possible conclusions. For one, there may be individuals within Starmer's team who disagree with his approach or feel disillusioned by his leadership style. If someone believed that the party's core values were being compromised by Starmer's actions, they might have seen this as an opportunity to hold him accountable. Alternatively, a staff member might have felt overlooked, underappreciated, or sidelined and decided to strike back by releasing information that could weaken Starmer's standing. In any case, such a deliberate attempt to feed sensitive information to the media suggests a significant level of dissatisfaction. The implications of an insider leak like this go beyond just the scandal itself. It hints at a fractured team, one where personal agendas and grudges may be coming into play. When you can't trust those closest to you, it becomes nearly impossible to maintain a unified front, especially in a high-stakes political arena. This betrayal suggests that Starmer's administration might be struggling with deeper issues of cohesion and loyalty. For a party leader, managing internal relations is essential, and this leak exposes how fragile those bonds can become under pressure. In a way, The slow and steady nature of these leaks seems almost calculated to destabilise Starmer's position, making it clear that he's facing a struggle not just from external critics, but from within his camp. The presence of disloyalty at such a high level could be far more damaging in the long run than the details of the scandal itself.
And Sue Gray has sensationally quit, although some suggest it was
Sue Gray was told to
ousting.
quit. Yes.
This is her role as Sir Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff, over fears that she'd become a distraction, plunging Number 10 into disarray.
You see, I think all of this is fascinating because this shows how...
Sue Gray's involvement in this scandal has added a new layer of intrigue to the situation. Gray, known for her influential position within Starmer's administration, is no ordinary staff member. As Chief of Staff, she's one of his closest advisors and a highly respected figure in political circles. However, her presence at the controversial meetings held in the luxury Soho townhouse has raised serious ethical concerns. Gray's involvement in these undisclosed gatherings isn't sitting well with the public, especially since she holds such a powerful and trusted role. People expect someone in her position to set an example of transparency and not to be entangled in questionable activities.
Got here is he then takes Sue Gray in and he says, look, Sue, we've got a problem here. You're boss woman here, but I can't have you as boss woman. Let's think of something else we can give you and make this look okay, and you can keep your 137,000 quid as well.
I'm quite surprised by this new role.
One of the biggest issues is how Gray's involvement changes the perception of Starmer's administration as a whole. She's seen as a figure who should embody the party's principles of accountability and openness. But her presence at these meetings creates a stark contradiction, casting doubt on the ethical standards of Starmer's leadership team. For the public, Gray's participation in undisclosed strategy meetings in an extravagant setting feels hypocritical, given the emphasis Labour places on being a party for the people. In the eyes of many, Gray's role complicates Starmer's claims of innocence or misunderstanding about the gifts and perks received. She was in the room where the decisions were made.
Sue Gray in charge of... She moves from being top civil servant to being a top figure within the Labour Party. That ain't going to go down well. I mean, a blind man and a galloping horse could see that this is nonsense. So
Gray's influence also raises questions about her judgment and the lengths to which she's willing to go in supporting Starmer. Reports suggest that Gray was aware of the details surrounding these luxury gifts and high-end properties, which only intensified the backlash against her. The public reaction has been fierce, with many viewing her involvement as a serious lapse in judgment that puts her loyalty above ethical conduct. By remaining part of these undisclosed meetings and even gaining a substantial pay raise, Gray's actions risk tarnishing her professional integrity and reputation. Her presence in this scandal suggests that even those in the highest positions within Starmer's administration may be willing to turn a blind eye to questionable practices, adding to the scandal's weight and fueling public suspicion. As one of Starmer's most trusted aides, Gray's role in this controversy further strains the credibility of an administration already under fire. The reaction from the public has been swift and severe. Many feel betrayed by Keir Starmer, especially since he leads a party that has traditionally upheld transparency and accountability as central values. For Labour supporters, this scandal feels like a slap in the face. Starmer, who promised to bring integrity back to the party, is now accused of accepting luxury perks without fully disclosing them. It's a situation that doesn't just harm his image, it shakes the very foundation of trust that voters place in their leaders. Calls for Starmer to step down are growing louder, with some arguing that this scandal proves he's unfit to lead a party that claims to represent the interests of the working class.
Being handed away, we've got UK forces on red alert after Argentina have now vowed to recapture the islands, and your flagship policy on private schools seems to be in tatters. You think this has been a success, do you?
What makes this situation even more troubling for the Labour Party is the timing. With the UK facing an economic crunch and immigration reaching record levels, people are already frustrated and looking for leaders who can empathise with their struggles. To learn that Starmer has allegedly been living in multi-million-pound properties, while many citizens struggle to afford necessities, adds a sting of hypocrisy to the scandal. Labour's image as the party of the people is at risk, and this controversy threatens to undermine the core values that it has long championed. In politics, perception is everything, and the public perceives this as yet another instance of a politician saying one thing and doing another.
But I think Keir Starmer and the rest of the government is getting on with the job that the British public elected us to do.
The British public didn't elect the government to introduce these winter fuel payments. You got no mandate for that. In fact, you've kept very quiet on it altogether, which is why it's so problematic for the British public.
Comparing this to previous political scandals, it's clear that Starmer's situation might be even more damaging because it's not just a matter of breaking rules, it's about breaking trust. The UK has seen its fair share of controversies, from cash for honours scandals to misuse of public funds. However, this case feels particularly egregious to many because of how closely it hits to Labour's promise of transparency. When leaders fail to practice what they preach, it opens the door to accusations of hypocrisy that are often difficult to shake off. If Starmer's administration can't recover from this breach of trust, it could spell trouble. Not only for his leadership, but for the party's standing in the eyes of the public.